everyone, this is Amol Shete, and in this particular video we will understand about IP addressing. So IP address it becomes essential when we have to set up some network infrastructure within a cloud or outside a cloud. The IP addressing is something the very basic prerequisite to start with any IT field. Okay, so let's understand IP addresses. So the very first thing here we need to understand there is something called as the IP classes. Okay, so we have a different classes the IP, and what are those classes are? So we have five classes in total: class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Now, the basic idea here is that the IP address is distributed in these classes for some purpose, okay, and we'll discuss that purpose as well. But these are the five classes that we have the IP, okay, and the minimal value that IP can have as 0, and the maximum value can IP have as a digit, okay, that is a 255. And why is that? Like why it can't be a 999 or something like that? So let's understand that first, okay. So here you can understand that IP is what IP is made up with the 32-bit. Okay, now how it is? So you see that the IP, how IP look like here. This could be the one of the example that there's some digit separated by dots, right? So here that each dot, okay, separated is we called as a octet. Okay, so here IP look like this one, some digit, then dot, digit, some dot, digit, then some dot, okay, digit, okay, like this way we have the IP. Let's say if we take the example as 10.127 dot 1.2, okay, something like that. If you just take any example, so you can see that this each digit we have and separated by the dots, okay, and this value as we see is like some digital number, okay, a digit number, but behind the scene when machine understand this number, so that machine is understood in the form of the binary. Okay, now what is meant by binary? So exactly this number we need to convert into either zeros or ones. Okay, so IP doesn't understand the digit directly, they convert this number into the binary, and that's how this each thing is what we call as an octet, which is made up with the 8 bit. That's the reason we called it as a octet. Okay, so this is like a 8 bit 8 bit 8 bit 8 bit, and like that the complete address is of the 32 bit. And when we have all of this octet as a 0, okay, so let's say the very first IP that starts with the 0, so here the minimal value here we can have as like a 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm just talking about the first field here, and with the minimal value we can have is this one, and the maximum value we can have it as like all the ones, right? So here 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 like this, okay. So when we convert these values into the binary digit, okay, like a normal digit integer, so in that case this will become as a 0, and when we convert this binary into a normal number, okay, it's going to be the 255. That's the reason when I say that the minimum value we can have it as 0, and the maximum here we can have as a 255. Okay, and that's the same thing here you can see. Okay, now as you guys have understood, like here the minimal value is 0, and it can go up to all the 255. That's what a maximum value we can have. Among them, this IP addresses is distributed in the classes. Okay, now generally the class A, class B, and class C, those are reserved, or those are we use it, okay, as a retail customer. Everyone can use this first three classes, that class A, class B, and class C. Now class D serves something the purpose, okay. So class D is reserved for something called as a multicasting purpose. Okay, when we have to broadcast something to the world, so we can store the things at one place and it can be broadcasted. So that technology we say a multicasting. So for that purpose, class D is reserved for, and then class E we have reserved for the for the testing purposes. Okay, so that's the reason. So you can just assume that class D and class E, we cannot use it for a general normal cases. Okay, so we use mostly the class A, class B, and class E. Okay, so these are the three classes IPs we use generally. Now going further, okay, we need to understand a few of the other things, such as the very important thing here we need to understand, and that is the public and the private IP addresses. So within this range, okay, within this range, when you see like 0 to 127, 255, okay, so within this range Within this range itself, there is a IP that we have as a private IP, okay, and we have something called as a public IP. Now, where we have to use which IP, like in what case we have to use the public IP, in what case we have to use the private IP. Let's understand that. Okay, so now this is something very important, guys. Okay, so we need to understand the private and the public IP. Okay, so what we call as a private IP is what we call as a private IP. So private IP we use in the private network. Okay, private IP we use in the private network. What does it mean? Means that let's suppose you are, or right now I'm sitting in my home, and I'm already connected with the my Wi-Fi. Okay, now in this particular situation I do have one router, okay, which is providing me the interconnection, and to that router, so you can just assume like here I'm having something like a router, and to this router I do have connected at least like 4 to 5 different devices, like a laptop, or the another laptop, or I may have few of the mobile devices. Okay, so I do have few of the other devices which is connected. Okay, now in this particular case, to each of these device, like this laptop, or let's say this mobile devices, or I do have, let's say, another laptop. Okay, all of these devices is identified by some unique IP. Okay, now that IP we have, okay, that IP we called as a private IP. Now here in this case also, like right now I am already connected with the Wi-Fi router, but still I have two IPs for this laptop. Okay, now one is a private IP, one is a public IP, and each IP is having some usage. Okay, let's understand that. So here in this particular example, you can understand that here we have a router. Okay, and to the router we have one public IP. You can see this like 82.129 with something series. We have the IP that is a public IP, and to all these devices like mobile device or laptops or desktop, okay, we have this router connected. Like here for each device we have the private IP. Now private IP has some specific range, like right now you saw that there are the few of the ranges we have. So among them, okay, we have few of the ranges classified as a private IP, and we can use those IPs only as a private IP, and this is a very standard thing. Okay, now that's not something decided by me and you guys. Okay, that something is decided by some organization called as INA, okay, who take care of all the related thinking, all the related things about the IP. Now that organization had decided like these are going to be the IPs, which are the private IP, which is the public IP. And here in this example you can see that for internal, like a home network, or you can say like in a company, when when we have so many laptops, or when we have so many desktop. Okay, so in within that network, or let's say we have a printer connected within the organization, so all of those devices are using the private IP. Okay, now when this private IP requires the internet access, when they want to access the internet, let's say right now here this is a PC, and here I open a Chrome browser, and I'm just like exploring anything. In that case, what happened that this particular PC will forward the traffic towards a router, and then router will go out and do the searching and all. Okay, now at that particular case, what will happen, like here this IP will go out, will bring the data to us, and again the data will be given back to your device, whoever is asked for. Okay, now this process we call as a NATing, that is a network address translation. So here your particular this PC is having some different IP, but when your PC goes outside, so in that case it goes outside with some public IP, and that public IP is provided by your ISP. Okay, so now that IP is not owned by you. Okay, today you have this IP, tomorrow you might be having something different IP. Okay, now that's something is not fixed. Okay, private IP you can configure by yourself. Okay, so if you go to the Wi-Fi section, there is some TCP IP settings you have. Then you can configure what private IP you would like to have. But a public IP is not in your hand. That is provided or assigned by the ISP, and that is not something a static one. Okay, private IP you can copy, or you can configure by yourself that to be as a static. Like let's say you wish to have 192 series, or you wish to have a 10 dot series. So there are a few of the fixed ranges. We will see that ahead in the upcoming slide. There are fixed IPs. Among them, we can use any IPs, as we can decide what private IP we would like to consider. But the same case is not with the public IP. Public IP is we get it, and which is a paid IP, okay, which is not free. Now ISP provides that IP towards you, and let's say when you want more than IPs as static IP or something like that, in that case you have to pay extra charges to the ISP so that they will provide it to you, because ISP itself is not getting those IP as a free. Okay, fine. So here the process goes like, whenever we search anything, okay, it goes outside, it gets connected to the router. Router will go with the public IP to the outside, and that's how the internet we access the internet. Okay, if I show you for in this particular demo that what is my IP, so I can just open any of the URL. Let's say here, if I search what is my IP, so here it's showing me the IPv6, but at the same time, if I check any of the link, okay, so here I should get the IPv4 as well. So this is the IPv4, I have got it, okay, 182.69.188.70. Okay, now again there are two types of IPs we have. One is IPv4 and IPv6. Okay, because the IPv4 we are now struggling with the uh, with the with the availability of the IPv4. That's the reason IPv6 introduced, and sometimes you can see that you also get the IPv6. Okay, now this is the public IP. Today you have got it from your ISP. Now tomorrow it might happen that when you search again, you will have a different IP. So this particular IP is not static, and this IP I have got it for my router. Okay, so today this IP I have got it for my router, and whenever I access the internet, so I access that internet via this particular IP. That's a public IP. Okay, great. Let's go ahead. And here, this is what the private IP definition is. Private IP address is an address assigned to the device with the private network. Okay, like right now, let's say if I have the devices, multiple devices like PC and then few of the laptops and all those devices. Okay, I do have some private IP. Okay, and I can confirm that. I can just go to the CMD. I can open CMD, and if I put the command at ifconfig, here you can see that here you can see this is what my IPv4 address is. It's a the IP here for me, it is 192.168.1.3. Okay, can you see that we have some specific range? So in the particular example, the one which I was showing here on the slide, okay, which was again having the same series of IP, it's a 192.168 series. Okay, it's the same IP here for my devices also got for today. Not for today, in fact I can have this as a every day. I can have this as a IP. Okay, and this is my router's private IP. It's a 192.168.1.1. Okay, that's a gateway we have, and this is what my IPv4 for my laptop is having. Let's say I have one more device connected, okay, within my at my home. So that device will have again a similar IP like a 192.168.1 dot something. Okay, like 3 4, instead of 3 I can have 4 5, like that. I can have something different. Instead of this digit will get replaced by something. So within network again there will be a unique IP will get assigned for each device. Okay, so that's what my private IP is, and these addresses are not routable on the public internet. Okay, so those IPs are not recognized on the public internet. We have to use the public IP to get recognized on the internet. Okay, so that's the reason they are used for internal communication and within the specific network. Okay, now usage private IP are typically used within the homes, businesses or organization to allow devices to communicate within each other with a local network. They're not accessible from the outside network unless special configuration we use like a NAT or something like that. Okay, so that when until unless we do something natting, okay, those are not accessible outside. Okay, fine. Then these are the ranges we have. So I was talking about there is some specific range within only those IP addresses we can use it as a private IP. So here you can see, okay, it's a 10 dot series. Then we have a 172.16 dot series and 192.168 series. Okay, so wherever you see any of the private IP range, okay, so those IP should belong to any one of the IP, or you can just consider reverse, that when you see any of the IP, so you should be able to recognize now which IP is private one, which IP is public one, because out of this range, Okay, out of this range, all the other IPs are the public ones, and this particular IP is what? These IPs are considered as a private IP range. Okay, great. Now the next thing here, we have to discuss about the public IP. Okay, public IP is basically, it's a global unique address. Okay, so when I say today I have got this IP, that's a 182.69.188.70. So for today, this IP is unique. Okay, this IP is just I have received. Okay, nobody in the world will have the same IP. So that's what I say, unique address assigned to my device. It is used to identify and communicate with the device over the internet. So when I search something, so the source IP will be considered as this, and my request will go outside, and whenever I get, okay, so internet has to reply me back, right? Any of the server has to reply me back. So that destination is going to be considered this particular IP, and that's how I will receive my data again back to my PC, okay, or laptop. So usage public IP addresses are essential for a device that need to communicate across the internet, such as web server, email servers, routers, okay, and other devices require direct internet access. Availability, public IP addresses are provided by internet service providers, okay, so those are not configurable by you, okay, you get the IP directly, and network administrators also typically limit, okay, that. So then IPv6 has much larger pool of the public IP address, okay. So we have a different types of IP address. So one is IPv4 and IPv6. So when you don't have IPv4 availability, so in that case you can also use the IPv6, and IPv6 is having a very big pool for usage. Okay, so you can use those IPs as well. Then let's talk about the accessibility. Public IP addresses are accessible from anywhere on the internet, allowing devices with the public IPs to send and receive data globally. Okay, and this is the reason we use the public IPs everywhere when we are accessing the internet. So in that case, we are actually using one public IP address. Okay, great. Now here is a summary table that we have. Okay, let's discuss very quickly private and the public IP address. Private IPs we use for communicating within the private network, cannot be directly contacted over internet. Used to communicate, public IP address used to communicate over the public internet, and we can use it outside the private network. Address can be reused per network. So let's suppose that this is the home I have, and in this particular home I'm using 192.168 or any of the IP range. So can I repeat in my neighbor's home? Yes, I can repeat. Okay, but this is not the same case with the public IP, because public IP has to be unique. So public IPs are unique and cannot be reused. So private IP is assigned by the device, by router, or in fact you can also configure your IPs. Just go to the IPv4 setting. So there you have the option to configure the IPs by yourself. So you can configure the private IPs by yourself, and or in fact within the router also you have a setting to configure the private IPs. Now public IP is not configured by you, it is assigned by the ISP. Then private IP has a small set of range possible address, and except your private IPs, all the IPs are considered as a public IP. So this was a very quick summary for your private and the public IP address. Hope you guys find this session useful. So do share, like, and subscribe to my channel. See you for the next video. Bye bye.